I did some stupid things when I was young. It's amazing I lived. I call it the era when my testosterone level was higher than my IQ.
Welcome to Creativity with Purpose, where we explore the stories, struggles, and sparks that shape our creative lives. I'm your host, Ann Moracek, author, healer, and believer in the power of meaningful expression. Together, we'll dive deep into what it means to create with heart, live with intention, and heal through the beauty of storytelling. Hi, I'm Ann Moracek, and this is Creativity with Purpose. Today, our guest is Randall Stueber, a natural storyteller who has spent over 3 decades capturing the heart of family narratives. First, through beautifully designed custom portraits, and now through the power of the written word. He is the creator of guided journals, designed to bridge generations, helping children, parents, and grandparents connect through their life stories. Now Randall is putting the finishing touches on his debut memoir, Chasing What I Lost, a nostalgic yet gritty reflection on his reckless search for identity, connection, and purpose in the 70s and 80s. Hi, Randall. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm really glad to meet you, actually.
This is fun. Yeah, we know each other through our same editors for our book, so that's
Yeah,
lovely. It's
yeah,
fun to connect with another author.
yeah. This has been quite a journey for me, actually.
Yeah.
I was not really good in high school, and even in college when I did the few college courses I took. I'll
Uh-huh.
mention this really quick. I was a little embarrassed. I had to have a foreign exchange student help me tutor me with my English because I had such a rough time with writing and stuff.
Isn't
So
that amazing? And that's a powerful message to anybody that has a low self-esteem or thinks I can't do this. Because look where you are now. You're nearly a published author. And who'd have thought, right?
yeah, my teacher sure wouldn't have thought.
That's the perseverance of the human spirit. And nothing's so broken that we can't fix it, right?
Yeah, you can definitely always improve. I'm always a big
Yeah,
one on there's no such thing as perfection, but I can keep getting closer.
absolutely. And wouldn't perfection be boring?
Yeah, yeah. If I ever reach it, I probably would be bored.
Right, there you go. There's a song that has a lyric something like that. It's like, I love all of you, your perfect imperfections. It's a
Yeah.
lyric I
Well,
like.
many of the imperfection is when we have the most fun. So
Absolutely. Well, what motivated you to first of all, I love the idea that you created this guided journals. That sounds
yeah.
wonderful to me.
So part of that was my parents, they were divorced, but they had some great stories. They my mother grew up in a little tiny town of 310 people. I mean, it's a
Oh,
small
that
town.
is wow.
Yeah, yeah. And my father grew up 30 miles from there on a farm without plumbing, without indoor water, without.
Wow.
So they had a lot of stories in their lives
Oh,
that they
yeah.
shared, and some were incredible stories. And unfortunately, they passed away
Yeah.
before we ever wrote any of those stories down, before I ever kept track of any of those. So I thought, it'd be really nice to let other people say, listen, your parents have a story to tell,
Yes.
and it can help you maybe understand your parents better. Some of
Oh,
the stories they have.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Um,
That's marvelous. So you found through, I guess, a sense of loss in your own life, how to mitigate that and help others to fill
yeah,
in the void.
without a doubt, because I would try to tell people stories about my father, and I remember some of them. And then
Yeah,
I realized that I really don't remember all of them, and I know there's more that he never got to tell me.
sure.
So I hope that those journals will help other people
Yeah,
find out about their parents.
yeah. That's marvelous. Yeah. I went through, I guess, a similar experience. I wrote Unpacking the Attic after my father passed away. Um, and well, I wrote part of it while they were transitioning to assisted living, but I didn't publish or turn it into an actual book until after he had passed on. And even in the process of taking my personal journal to finish book, there were questions that I wish I could have gone back and filled in and asked him. Yeah.
Yeah. My mother's second husband was a wonderful man. He was a Navy man, uh, in World War II. He had incredible stories, and it would have been great to have written those down because he had no children of his own.
Uh-huh.
And my children were his grandchildren,
Sure.
and they loved him. He was wonderful. And I think all the stories that he had that we lost, that we didn't get.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
I encourage people to try to get those stories
Oh,
from their parents.
absolutely. And that fits so perfectly with creativity with purpose because
Yeah.
you know saving family connections, saving family identity, having that to pass down generationally, that's precious. And you've presented that in a very creative way. So
Yeah.
it people write in their own voice, doesn't it?
Oh, without a doubt. They're going to
Yeah,
write down, like my journals, they have prompts just trying to make people remember certain things that they might want to talk about that
yeah.
may or may not have been important to them at the time.
Mhm.
And excuse me, even first things like my dad's first car was a Studebaker, and
Oh,
learning on the Studebaker and that sort of thing. Those are fun stories. And then of
yeah,
course there's drama in our lives too that maybe you don't know that your parents had to go through
yeah.
that had a great effect on how they are.
Right,
And I think
absolutely.
it helps us understand different generations, our children, our parents, and our
Yeah.
grandparents.
Yeah. I know my parents went through the Great Depression. And I remember my mom saying that her father opened a grocery store so he would guarantee he had something to feed his family because something wouldn't sell, right? There would be some leftovers. But she said
Yeah,
she remembers many, many nights when they were eating saltine crackers out of the cracker barrel. They had an old big barrel filled with crackers. Can you imagine? Nothing was boxed or packaged back then.
yeah,
She said they used to take crackers out of the barrel, it put them in a glass and pour water on it till it was like a paste, and that was dinner. You can imagine.
yep, yeah. So it's funny you bring that up. My grandmother told me a story. The tax assessor came to their house. This was during the Depression,
Uh-huh.
and she had a big family. I had a lot of aunts and uncles, and I forgot what she said that they were feeding the kids, but it was fine. It's what the kids were used to in the morning. But the tax assessor seen what they were feeding the kids, and he tried to give my grandmother money to buy groceries, and my grandmother was insulted and told him to take his money back and kicked him out of the house. And when I talked to her, she goes, "That was really stupid." She goes, "I shouldn't have been so proud. I should have just taken the money." But
Sometimes
she
we
said,
need to learn to say thank you and accept help.
just accept it. But she said at the time she just was insulted and threw him out. I'm like, yeah, well,
And that's a different generation too,
yeah, yeah,
because I think we have just as a collective learned to be a little bit more accepting of help and accepting of another's generosity. I think we're learning more that if we don't receive help, we're denying someone else the gift of being able to provide that help to us. Because I know sometimes the most fulfilling moments in my life are when I can be generous and help someone else.
yeah. And actually, I wrote that a little bit in my memoir in terms of not necessarily helping people, but wanting to feel like like you're helping somebody in some way, like you're protecting other people.
Right.
And there is a give and receive in that.
There is.
And there's a weird balance between independence
Mhm.
and being part of a community. There's a balance there
Yes,
that's
there
hard to
is a
meet all the
balance.
time.
Yes, there is a
And
balance.
yeah, part of my memoir was that as I was reading, and I don't know if we maybe get into this a little bit real quick before I forget. One of the reasons I wrote this, of course, is my journals. I was telling my daughter, my adult daughter, about it. And one of the first thoughts that came to her was, well, why haven't you written your stories?
Oh, right. Because
Right.
here you've got this book for everyone else,
For
right?
everyone else. Yeah. She's like, Dad,
Just like the shoemaker's kids are barefoot.
or barefoot. That's exactly it. I was like, okay, you're right. You're absolutely right. And my son years ago, because I had told him some of the crazy stories that I had told years ago, told me, Dad, you really should write down some of those stories.
Yes.
So now finally my daughter's like, yes, it's time. So I'm like, okay, I'll start writing some of them. And I just picked for now just this 10-year period between 15 and 25. That's a big change in people's lives, I
It
think.
is. It's a transformative age.
And when I first was writing this journal, not journal, this memoir about myself, it was really going to be about all the adrenaline filled, testosterone, stupid things that young men do. I had all these stupid things that I probably shouldn't have survived that I write about, Chinese fire drills and ski jumps and
Oh
silly
my.
things that you
I
do when
assume the motorcycle behind you has something to do with that.
the motorcycle riding when I was young. That's not the one I had when I was young, but it's one I have now.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I did some stupid things when I was young. It's amazing I lived. I call it the era when my testosterone level was higher than my IQ. And it's just
Great.
it's just kind of the way it is when you're young. Um, but then as I started writing it, I started doing more self-reflection.
Yeah.
Um, Started looking at my family, my parents getting divorced when I was 18. I was an adult, I'd moved out, but
Yeah.
still the effect it had on the family
Still
unit.
hard.
And I didn't realize then how much it affected my outlook on family and stuff.
Yeah.
Writing now, going back and looking at it, like, wow, it had a huge impact on how I looked at things.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it became more reflective as I went through it. I still have fun writing about the antics, about the silly stuff I
Right.
did. And I might be getting ahead of myself, but even one of them, I have a new neighbor, and I've just gotten to know him a little bit over the last year. He's about my age. And we were going through an album of mine, and one of the pictures is a crazy jump I did off of this rock down in Crested Butte. And it's pretty insane. He knew the rock right away. And the
Oh,
reason he knew that rock is because when he went off of it, about the same year I did, 40 years ago, he ended up getting a helicopter ride to the hospital. Um,
so
he had to
he'll
get,
never forget that antic.
yeah, Flight for Life had to take him to the hospital. And yeah, he was 19 at the same time. But other than him being hurt, it was just incredible to think that he recognized the same rock, the same
That's
jump, the same.
amazing.
It's like, okay, well, there's some people out there that are going to recognize some of this stuff, maybe
Yeah.
specifically, and maybe just generally some of the
Well,
antics we did.
and we all are human beings that experience basically the same scenarios in different specifics, right? I mean, we all go through this rebellious teenage years. We all have that transition in life, and some of us are more sedate or experience those things in different ways. Obviously, not everybody's doing cliff jumping, but nevertheless, it's all relatable
Yeah, yeah,
because we all have a similar life journey in the fact that we have to go from children to adults, and how do we navigate those waters? And yeah.
yeah, and yeah, no, thanks, and that's very true. And
Mhm.
like you said, the like I wasn't even sure if I was going to publish this.
Yes, you and me both.
Um, and part of it is because in here I realized I admitted to some serious faults of my own, which I didn't like doing.
Yes,
But it was part of it, so I
sure.
admitted those. And
And
yeah,
again, it makes it more relatable
yeah,
because
it's
believe me, you're not the first one to do that.
well, and I hope people read this and realize they're not alone.
Yes, exactly.
That
Exactly.
some
And they can see how you have so beautifully come through these experiences through self reflection and honesty and the willingness to give and to share.
yeah, I hope so. I hope that they find that. And I kind of hope, this may sound kind of odd, I guess, but I hope that the women that read it might see things from a male perspective a little bit.
Mhm.
What How men kind of go through and internalize
Yeah,
their experiences with dating, with family, with
sure.
the good and bad of relationships. Um, because I know sometimes that's a difficult thing for us to understand each other.
Right, right. It can be. It can be because we're coming from very opposite um, social upbringings, expectations, just personalities, the way we process. I
Yeah,
know my husband is very straight lined and direct and very focused, and I'm multitasking everywhere. So, I'm the one that has 87 plates spinning at the same time, and he's in there on the computer doing one task very well.
yeah,
They're just very general example, but I think there is a lot to be said for that, and we can all learn from each other.
yeah, yeah, and try to understand each other a little bit better,
Right.
and try to put ourselves in their shoes and go, okay, this is why they're looking at it this way.
Hmm.
And like I said, I wish I would have been more reflective back then, but at least I am now. Uh, like I said, I look back and I think, wow, this is stuff that I should have kind of tried to figure out back then. But as a testosterone filled guy, my tendency was to get on the motorcycle and drive fast and just try to avoid it. My
Yes.
tendency was to go off of ski jumps I shouldn't be going off of. My tendency was to, you know, to go on adventures and try to avoid those things. And
Mhm.
unfortunately or fortunately, I enjoyed most of those adventures,
Yeah.
but it did keep me from facing certain things that I really should have been facing.
Yes. But, isn't that just part of youth? I think that the biggest gift of surviving all of that is the opportunity to grow into that maturity and that reflective self-awareness and evaluation of what we did well, what we did not do well, how do we move forward, how do we improve our relationships with those that were dear and near to us. That's all part of that maturation process. And it's valuable for other people to see that you can, with mindfulness and intent, go back and review those past experiences and
Yeah,
perhaps reframe them for your own good and the relationships that you have now for their good.
yeah, without a doubt. Excuse me. These days, every time I cough, I think people think you have COVID.
I know.
It's
COVID did not cure allergies, just to tell
yeah,
everyone, just so you know. Right.
just it just is. You have allergies. That's
Right.
the
It
way it
just
is.
is. Right. Exactly.
And it's been raining so much here in Denver this that my
Oh,
allergies are actually kicking in. It's kind of funny.
yeah. We've,
Uh,
we've got, I'm in St. Louis and we have rain here today as well. It's been raining all month. Yep.
yeah, it's kind of crazy for us because it's normally dry here. But
Oh, yeah.
at any rate, yeah, I hope that people get out of that
Yeah.
they can recognize some of the things that happened to them and recognize the good and the bad.
Right.
And for me, like I said, a lot of it was really fun. I enjoyed talking about my free range upbringing. Um, I had a gentleman that's my age that I'm kind of friends with online now, and he asked me, he said, because he's read through it already, some of it for me. He goes, "Did this seem normal for you?"
That's
Yeah.
a good question. There's
Was
a
this not
lot under
normal?
there's a lot under that bridge.
Yeah. I was like, is this not normal? He goes, I think I had a more tame life than you. I'm like, well, I didn't think it was that crazy, but maybe I don't. I don't
Oh, that's fun. And we all express our crazy in different ways.
yeah, that's it. But
Oh,
I call it. I kind of was a free range childhood.
huh.
My parents were incredibly strict. My dad was quick to find the belt if I was
Oh
out of line.
my.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
that was just normal. I had to do the laundry. I had to, do the kitchen. I had to clean the house. But once everything was done, once my chores were done, I could hop on my bike and I wasn't expected to be home until dinner. Um,
Uh-huh.
and back then, I think young people have a rough time understanding this now, but back then when you were gone, you were gone. There's
Yeah,
no cell phone to get a hold of you.
right.
There's no text messaging. You're just gone.
Yeah.
And they
They're not
don't worry about
tracking
you. And
you on the GPS.
yeah, there's no way to find you.
Mhm.
And you didn't worry about it until after dinner. Then if you weren't home, then they started worrying.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so now, and I think there's a book about it. Somebody wrote a book about the fact that parents today are a little too protective in terms of the real world. They don't let them go out and experience the real world, but they're not protective enough about what they're watching online.
Yes.
It's
Right.
like they need to kind of alter that a little bit, watch closer what they're online and let them go out and get skinned up outside in real life.
Hmm.
Um, and I can't remember the name of the book now, but I thought, yeah, my book kind of touches on that. That,
Hmm.
yeah, I got bruised up and I definitely had some places in my life where I was in danger. It was literally physical danger
Oh
that
my.
happened. And that was part of life. And I remember my biggest concern back then, and I'll touch on this later. I got stuck in a bad situation when I was 15, but one of my biggest concerns was not the trouble that I was in at the moment.
Yeah.
It's that if my father found out that I let myself get into that situation, they would cut my wings and I wouldn't have my freedom anymore.
Hmm.
Kind of an interesting concern, but that is what my
So it
biggest
wasn't that
concern
you were in
was.
trouble, it's that you didn't want to get caught being in trouble.
Yeah, I was a little concerned about my life, but once I realized I was safe again, my next concern was, well, I don't want anybody to know because then I won't have this freedom to go off and do stuff.
Oh.
It'll be okay, you got into trouble, you can't go anymore. Like,
Uh-huh.
all right, so we're gonna keep this a secret. I don't want my wings clipped.
Yeah, it sounds like a teenage boy.
Yeah, yeah, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, no, no. Um, so yeah, I think, yeah, I hope that people see that difference and enjoy some of the differences.
Sure.
Uh, but yeah, the comment about, does this seem normal made me laugh.
That is
And
excellent.
I talked about, well, the belt. So this is, like I said, my father was pretty quick to the belt
Yeah.
and I didn't really think about it at all. But one time I was out with a couple of my friends and the big news of the day was, excuse my cough. One of my buddies was dating a new girl, a girlfriend of his. And the big news was she had never been spanked. She had never been, you know, never felt the belt, never spanked,
Oh,
never. And we
yeah.
were all just amazed if somebody could make it to the ripe old age of 16 and not get hit by their parents. you know, so
Yeah.
everybody I grew up with, everybody I hung out with,
Uh-huh.
experienced similar childhoods. Their parents were pretty strict too.
Mhm.
Wasn't unusual for them to get a belt if they were out of line. Um, so looking back, it was so funny that we were all just shocked that his girlfriend had not experienced that was possible.
Yeah. And
So
that's so different now because I don't know any parent that really spanks the child now.
yeah,
It's generationally changed. Yeah,
it's been a
exactly.
big change.
This is a big change.
And my father, I talk about this too in the book. My father, that's how he was raised. He was raised on the farm. He was strict. And one of his fun stories, it seems weird to be a fun story, but was that the last beating he got, and it was because, like I said, he grew up out on the farm in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota,
Wow.
and they didn't have running water. Well, he had M80s, and he was throwing the M80s into the water barrel, watching them blow up. He thought that was all fun.
No,
And he took and tied a rock to one and threw it in, and it blew up the water barrel.
I would
Well,
think.
that's a big deal. You blow up the water barrel when you live on the farm.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Not good.
but those are the kind of stories that you need to write about your parents or you need to write
Sure.
about yourself.
Absolutely. Oh my
Uh,
goodness, yes. What got you
So
into taking portraits?
what's that?
What got you into taking portraits too? You said you did portraits.
Well, this is kind of an odd thing too, I guess. I was working for an electronics company and I was going back to school actually to become a physical therapist, and I started taking photography classes. And I
Uh-huh.
really enjoy the photography. And I started photographing golf courses for
Huh.
people for different golf courses for their brochures.
Oh
And next thing
yeah.
you know, I had a few people ask me to do weddings or families or whatever. I started really enjoying that. So next thing you know, that became my business for 30 years is
Isn't
photographing.
that neat? So again, you followed your creative passion and actually leveraged that into a business.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I had really a privilege. The the last high school senior portrait I did,
Yeah.
professional portrait I did, I had photographed her when she was 3 weeks old.
How
And
neat.
yeah, and I had photographed their family. I watched her grow up almost with my own kids. Excuse me. And to see her as a young woman was wild.
That's
It's like,
so neat. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
That's got to be rewarding.
it was. And it's really was awesome when once in a while I go to a client's house and I would see portraits of their families that I took all over their house.
Oh, that's so rewarding. That's
It
lovely.
it's incredible. And I have had a privilege of watching so many different families and photographing. I did a lot of maternity portraits,
Oh,
and
lovely.
the fun of watching many first-time parents
Yeah,
enjoy that process
sure.
in the babies. And
Oh.
I also enjoyed that too. I got to hold a lot of babies, and when they would start having problems or need to be changed, I could give them back to their parents.
Here you go.
So I had fun. The baby and I got along great, but now it's yours.
Right. That's cute.
Um,
That's fun.
so yeah, I'm very, very privileged to be able to photograph all the different families. And
Yeah.
I did a lot of portraiture at their own homes, um, so that it would be more personal for them. And
Right, right.
I
That's
got to,
on my memoir, Unpacking the Attic. Lifelong friend of my father's was a professional photographer. He had started out being an engineer and then took some photography classes, fell in love with it, built it into his business and his full-time career then. He actually came to my house and set up the backdrop and the cameras and everything and took the photo that's on the front cover of the book.
oh, awesome.
It's me holding a picture of the only photo I have of me when I was 2. So my experience in childhood was very challenging. Only child, no cousins anywhere near my own age, parents that had a very negative relationship. They probably should have divorced. They never did. I never could figure out why. I guess generationally, they just felt like you didn't have that as an option. But my father had a second family. He had affairs. There was terrible
Wow.
fights. It was rough. So I grew up in this isolated yet frightening environment and problems and shouting that I couldn't possibly comprehend. And so my adult self had to go back in time and reface those memories and try to extend a forgiveness and a compassion to the adults that were in those scenarios and free myself through forgiveness of all of that resent and anger that I grew up with.
Yeah, that's not always easy to do.
It's a process. Yeah.
I well, I mean, why I talk about this, that age range, like you said, to me, my father was just a strict father. He tried to do stuff with us. We went on camping trips.
Oh, that's nice.
He put up with Boy Scouts. I know he didn't like the Boy Scouts, but he did it for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I give him credit for that. And then after the divorce, things got kind of ugly. And even though I was a young adult, the
Yeah.
family split. And
Right.
there was my dad and my brother and sister, and there was me and my mom. And I hated that that happened, but that's how it happened. And I didn't talk to him for a few years at all. And I talk about that a little bit in the memoir. And
How unusual for the siblings to be split.
yeah, that became a weird thing. And
Yeah.
later on, my sister and I got back together, and my brother and I never, we still don't talk, really.
Amazing. That's such a
But
shame that the adults in the scenario didn't protect the children from the broken
well,
relationship.
for me, I kind of saw it as I was already a young adult and kind of on my own.
Hmm.
My poor sister, she was still very young, a teenager,
Yeah.
rough years. And I didn't get to see what all happened during a few years there because I was, like I said,
Right.
separated from it all.
Yeah.
I took off to the mountains. I kind of took I'm going to just leave and not pay attention to this baloney,
Hmm.
uh, which was, I
And at
probably shouldn't
that
have
age, it
done.
was probably a self-preservation move for you.
It was, but I felt bad leaving my sister behind. I didn't realize, I didn't think about her being stuck in the middle of all that.
Yeah.
My brother was older, so he was really gone. He was in Europe for a while, I think, and I didn't even know where all he was.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So that kind of happened. However, having said all that, and my sister actually said, but ultimately, when I had my own children, I got to see my father as a grandfather. And as a grandpa, he was a soft hearted, wasn't the same man that raised me. It, it was,
Yeah.
but it was funny as he never apologized for that. In his way, he told me, he said, he thought his job when I was a child, when I was growing up, was to keep me on the straight and narrow. As a
Uh-huh.
grandfather, it was his job to have fun and play with the kids. And and, and he was a great grandfather. He was awesome with my kids.
That's
Um,
wonderful.
yeah, it was really fun for me to see him in that light.
Yeah.
Completely different person.
And that's part of that, I think, is the social expectations of his generation.
Yeah, yeah. Keep me in the straight and narrow. And one of the lectures he gave me when I was 16, and I got my driver's license, which was a big deal back then. Doesn't seem to be as big a deal these days. But the big lecture he gave me was first, cops are good and cops are bad. You don't know what you're going to get, so just be respectful because they've got a badge and a gun. That was at the time I thought, what is he talking about? I didn't think about it till later that teenagers seem to draw police officers. They just
Uh,
they're out on their own. And then the other thing that was very funny because I was a pretty well behaved kid, I thought. He told me, if you call me from jail, I want you to know I'm going to come and get you, but not right away.
It'll let you feel the consequences of this a little bit,
Yeah.
huh?
It's like, well, it was the I don't want you to think I've abandoned you, but don't think I'm going to be in a rush. And again, I didn't get into any kind of serious trouble, but there were a couple times you're out with your friends, you think, my dad wasn't kidding. this might be crossing a line that I don't want to cross. Um,
So
so
perhaps that gave you a little bit of inspiration to not get into those situations.
yeah, let's not cross that line. There's
Yeah.
a spot we're not going to go across. Um, but I thought that was an interesting. It wasn't even really overly judgmental. He wasn't accusing me of doing anything. It was just, I want you to know if this is where it goes, this is what's happening.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I I got my driver's license right at 16 on my birthday. And 2 weeks later, my algebra teacher rear-ended me, going 40 miles an hour, was at a complete stop.
Oh,
And this was before headrests and broke my neck.
wow.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it was a traumatic break. I still don't have an atlas. The top vertebrae was smashed so profoundly that it's dissolved. So
Ah,
I technically don't have my head and my spine connected to one another, just soft tissue connection.
oh, that's a hard way to start life. Oh,
It was. And I refused all the surgeries. And I really used the power of manifest spirit to heal myself.
Yeah.
And I just kept envisioning myself on stage performing over and over and over and over. And 2 years later, I was one of two women out of over 2,000 that auditioned that was cast in the Palace show at Six Flags over Mid America, singing and dancing on stage.
Awesome. Yeah.
2 years
That's,
later. And I was told I was going to be paralyzed from the neck down. And they wanted rods and, down
oh,
my spine and the whole, and I just said, no, it's going to heal. Um, it's amazing what the power of the human spirit and the human mind can do. And that's
yeah.
not only physically, but in our own emotional journeys, in our own self awareness, and our own ability to forgive others in relationships.
Yeah. That's something too, trying to forgive,
Mm-hmm.
especially people that don't even ask for forgiveness. They don't think that they did anything wrong.
Right.
There's I'm finding that there's a lot of that where you think
Yeah.
this person has to know. They've got, well, no, not
Yeah.
necessarily.
Not necessarily. Yeah.
They don't.
And
And I
sometimes
can't,
it's up to us to open that dialogue.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so I'm trying to be at least good with myself. Like I said, I look at things that I have done wrong and try to be, not beat myself up about it too much, but at the same time be legitimately contrite. I don't know if that's the right word for it, and say, you know what, I did this and I'm sorry, and let's
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Exactly. And it's a good thing. It takes courage and it takes a real high level of honesty to be able to reach out to others with that apology.
yeah, and yeah, and I love it. Did I bring up? There is one person in particular I would love to apologize to from 40 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Um, I I dated a lot, and I'm not, most they know, but one young woman. I won't go into too much detail now, but I wrote this in the book, and it was really hard for me to write
Yeah, I bet.
because it was I was, and she came up, and I won't go into a huge conversation, but I literally shut the door in her face and said goodbye, and just literally shut the door. Now that that was an incredibly cruel thing to do,
Yeah.
and she was a nice person, and she deserved better than that.
Uh-huh.
And I have no excuses. Um, just I can tell you the reasons, but that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
And she's probably one of the few people that when I look back over my life that I really would love to find her and say, you know what, that was just rude and cruel, and I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Um, and it
Yeah.
was hard for me to write that in because I don't want to admit your own faults like that. But it's like, you know
Right.
what,
Right.
I'm going to write it down. It happened, and I'm going to suck it up and say, you know what,
Yeah.
I did this, and it was wrong.
Yeah. And aren't there always things in everyone's life that we wish we could go back and rewind and do a takeover, right? Let's edit that
Yeah,
one.
let's do this. Let's do this differently. Um,
Right, right. And
and
I think it's those experiences that make us real and make us understand that we do have to have a mindfulness and a compassion to what our thoughts, our spoken word, our actions, how we are impacting others.
yeah,
Because sometimes we are so egocentric, we're looking in instead of really understanding that everything sets out ripples in motion, right? And so everything we do and say has an effect either directly or indirectly on the other people around us.
yeah, exactly. So like my memoir, when I was first writing it, like I said, when I started doing some introspective, started realizing I cared too much about what other people thought of me, especially girls, especially when I
Uh-huh.
was really, and as I was starting to go through that process in my mind now,
Yeah.
saying, I needed to be more self-aware and say, you know what, it
Yes.
doesn't matter what they think. I'm proud of them. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I realize there's a balance there
There is.
because what I do does affect other people,
Yeah.
and they're going to reflect some of that back to me. So there's an odd balance there that we have to work on all the time, I think, as far as how much do we care about what other people are thinking, without it destroying yourself, because our
Right.
people are never going to look at you the right way.
Right. And I think it boils down to being sincere and following your passion because, yes, we need to be kind, in our relationships and our words and how we deal with others, but we still don't want to live someone else's life. We don't want to live someone else's expectations for us. We want to follow our own innate passions and interests and contribute to the world in a way that is also gratifying to us. Don't you
Yeah.
think? And I
Yeah.
think that's part of where that balance comes in.
Yeah. And those expectations, like I said, and learning to be able to stand up for yourself
Sure.
without needing to be angry, without needing to be
Right.
aggressive, and still be able to stand up and say, no, this is my boundary.
Right.
Uh, and I think for me, that's been a really difficult balance throughout my life, trying to be, I either give in too much or I get to the point where I just get mad and I shut the door in somebody's face. And
Right.
it's like no, there's 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 a place between there
Right. There
where
is.
you can find and stand up for yourself and still be kind.
Right.
And
Yes, there is.
I definitely explore that a little bit in my book.
Yeah. And I love that. I think that's something that we all need to explore for ourselves. And retrospection is such a powerful healing elixir. It's true for our own life's journey. It's true for, in a way, for parenting and now for me, grandparenting. I try to not discipline grandchildren, but try to say, you could make that choice, but let's explore what I see as possible consequences of it. And then let's explore what some other choices might be that you might like the results of better.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's a process of learning, I think, to be able to project the consequences of certain choices that we make, because everything's a choice, right?
oh yeah, yeah. We all pretend like we don't have choices, but we do.
We
The
do. We make
choices
choices
are not
every day.
always great, but there's choices. There's things
There
we can.
are. Yeah.
Um, they said what not the one of the times with my father, like I said,
Uh-huh.
they went back to court. He was taking my mother back to court at one point, and my sister and I went to court, and I had been avoiding this, right?
Oh,
So
sure.
now, after a few years, they're going back to court again. I'm going to go, and I confronted my father. I
Uh-huh.
said, "This is a man I not only had respect for, but like I said, I grew up being afraid of him, really in little ways,
Yeah.
and here I am confronting him at the courthouse, and uh, I was able to do it calmly and
Good for
stand
you.
firmly and still tell him I didn't think he was right. and
Uh-huh.
and I was able to walk away from him at that moment, which was not easy.
I
Uh,
bet.
but at the same time, I thought, okay, I'm gonna stand my ground. Like I said, like we're talking, I was not even mad. I was just like, no, this is it. This is how I see it, and you're wrong, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna stand up to it. Um, so, and I was there for my sister. I didn't really care much about the fight. My mom, I wasn't even there for my mom. It's like whatever happens between you two is between you two. The only reason I came here is because my sister asked me to be here.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but yeah, that moment of being able to stand up to him calmly was
Uh-huh.
was a big thing.
Sure.
Um, and I
And
think, oh,
you were standing in your own power and your own truth.
yeah, and I didn't have to be mad at the time. And I think that's a big part of it, trying to learn that you don't have to be mad to stand up.
Right. Right. Exactly. Because anger is a very low vibration. It's a very negative vibration.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
when we can be compassionate, not only to others, but ourselves, we can be considerate of what we need and where our boundaries are, as well as others. That's a much higher vibration of, being able to express ourselves in a kind way.
yeah. And you can do that firmly. You can, if you have to. Sometimes it needs to be.
You mentioned that the family was torn apart with the divorce. You went one way, your siblings went another, your parents split. When you first moved out of the house, what was that like? What was your segue into adulthood on your own?
So I kind of knew things were falling apart. They weren't getting divorced yet. I had tried to go to college. Like I said, I went to college. I did okay, C's and B's. For somebody who wasn't supposed to graduate high school, I was okay with that. But
Yeah.
I could tell that the family was having some serious challenges. and I just didn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
So I was 18. I managed to get a job in Keystone. This is back in the day when you had to go and apply in person. You couldn't get away with
Yeah.
doing it online. Um, and I remember going up, and my handwriting and my spelling was awful, and I had to write, out an application in person at the place.
Right. Yeah.
And I managed to get a job, managed to get employee housing. So I kind of escaped the house, escaped the home. But I also was kind of leaving a girlfriend that I really liked behind too. She was in high school, still in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a big adventure for me. Yet I was only like 60, 70 miles from home. But back then, like I said, there was no cell phones, there's no texting.
Right. Yeah.
The employee housing was kind of like college dorms almost. Two people to a room, two rooms to a kitchen and bathroom. And
Uh-huh.
the only phone was one phone per floor in the middle of the hallway.
Oh my. So no privacy at all.
Oh yeah, no, and you had to pay, back then there were, people don't know now, there were long distance charges.
Yes.
If you
Yes.
dialed out, so it cost a lot of quarters to try to call home. So I never called home.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then one day I remember somehow my girlfriend got a hold of the phone number up there. I don't even know how.
Ah.
He was pretty ingenious, and she called. And what would happen is people would call that phone, and it would ring forever. And then somebody would get around to answering it as they walked by it. And you would tell them who you wanted to talk to, and they would go, if they were in the mood, they'd go find what
Oh.
room and ask if you were there. That was
Wow.
communication back then.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend got a hold of me once, and I, as I was writing about this, I realized, it's nice now that we can text each other and everything, but that moment being able to talk to her on the phone was awesome because it meant so much more.
Sure.
And yeah, there was no privacy. I had some friends. The reason we answered, they were on the stairs. We were hanging out on the stairs, that she did, and the phone rang. And I was thinking, I don't know if I want to answer the phone today. And finally, I went and answered it. It was just funny. It was my girlfriend.
Oh
And I
my.
made some stupid joke. And of course, my girlfriend's like, because I didn't know it was her. She's like, oh, really? And oh, no. My friends are laughing because, of course, they hear everything you're doing, everything you're saying.
Right.
My friends thought that was quite funny that I got caught trying to be funny. But those moments meant, I think, more back then because it was more difficult to get a hold of each other. Communication was more difficult. Back then, I bought a motorcycle and had it up there later in the season. And her and her parents evidently came through Keystone while I was working. And when I got off work, I came out and here's this note from her on my motorcycle.
Oh.
I mean, those kind of little notes were incredibly special.
Yeah.
It's not just some little quick text message. It was, here's this little love note on my motorcycle in the middle of the
Oh,
day.
nice.
Yeah, those, I still have a lot of those notes. They meant a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that first move out, and this is a teenager, 18 years old. I worked for a restaurant, so I ate. I was not starving, but
Yeah.
I would go down to Denver once in a while, and I would tell my friends' parents how difficult it was up there on my first. I'm out on my own, and so they would make me these big care packages full of full of food and groceries and stuff that I would take back up, and my friends would all come and raid my room because they knew that I was coming from Denver, that I would have, cookies and stuff that they would come and raid me. And that was, it was just different back then. And I had my first roommate ever, bless his heart, Enrique. He was from Mexico. He had a green card. He was working at Keystone,
Yeah.
and he spoke broken English, but he was a great guy, and he had a turntable, and he loved Foreigner. That was his favorite group. So we would hang out and we'd put the music on, and he'd put on Foreigner, and that was his big deal. He loved his turntable. We'd hang
Uh-huh.
out and listen to music together. Now I see kids, they got headphones on, they don't do anything together, I swear.
Yeah.
I go out in dinner and I see families, all of them on the phone
Instead of talking to each other.
that are talking to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
We've
remember I
got to
got them.
learn that interpersonal connection is so
Yeah,
priceless. It's the only thing we take with us from this planet is the relationships we've
is the
had.
relationship. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Enrique, I was very lucky that he was my first roommate ever because he was a great guy.
Yeah.
And I always think, you never know who you're going to end up with.
That's true.
And yeah, and I always made fun because he didn't ski. He wasn't a ski bum. He just liked the ski area. He liked
Uh-huh.
the feeling of being around there. Because back then they had another thing people don't understand today. There was one radio station in Summit County back then, and they
Wow.
played everything from hard rock to to excuse the phone from hard rock to don't go off. I'm sorry, excuse
It's
me.
okay. Time out.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm back. That run radio station would play anything. You could call in if you could call in, and you could request any kind of song. And they might play Beethoven's Fifth one song, and the next song would be The Who, Who Are You, or something.
Yeah.
You never knew what was going to come on.
Yeah.
It was the only radio station, so you listened to everything that came up.
Yeah.
These days, we've got personal
It's
music all the
specialized. Sure.
time. Yeah, yeah. Back then, when you got cassette tapes, it was such a big deal. You could make your own cassette tape.
Uh-huh.
That was a huge thing. So when I moved out, yeah, it was awesome that my roommate had a turntable and he loved playing his music and we got along so well. Um, and at the end of the season, I moved back, hoping that the family may have healed somehow, and of course
Sure.
they didn't.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did as a reckless teenager was take off to Minnesota on my motorcycle.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
there you
It
go.
was just I had family in Minnesota. I wanted to go see my extended family and
Mhm. Mhm.
see if maybe they'd make me feel. I didn't think at the time it was just an adventure, but I
Yeah,
think I was looking for some connection, some family connection.
sure. Yeah. Trying to fill in the blanks of things that you felt missing in your life at home.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, trying to keep in touch with my girlfriend who was still in Denver was
Uh-huh.
challenging. You can't do that on the road.
Right.
Back then, you got on the road, and I didn't. My mother didn't know where I was for a week at a time.
Right. Exactly.
So
Uh, Different world.
it was.
Yeah.
Um,
So if you were going to give a summary of your biggest accomplishment in life, what would that be?
well, probably my kids, but aside from that, I think as I look back, my photography, my portrait photography, I really am proud of some of the images I have captured of the families over the years.
That's lovely.
Some of those moments. There was one. I mean, in particular, this husband and wife came to the house. I had a studio in my home, and this guy, I don't know, 6'6", tattoos up and down. He had full sleeved hats,
Wow.
and they had this little premature baby that was just this tiny thing.
Oh,
And I captured this image. He's got a full beard, and this guy looks like he chewed nails for breakfast. Just one of those guys. And I got an image of him holding this little preemie in the palm of his hand, and the softness in his eyes as he's looking at his little girl.
yeah.
And that image, I'm so proud and so blessed that I was able to capture some of those images.
Yeah. And then now they have them forever to cherish and to
They
pass
have that
generationally.
image.
Yeah.
Some of those things. One time I had a couple, and they almost got into a fight. I was going to do a maternity portrait
Uh-huh.
of her, and then I did interviews of what they wanted and stuff. And she wanted him in the portrait, and he didn't want to be in the portrait. And I
Oh,
mean, it was almost an all-out fight. They were, and I convinced them I could take care of this. I had a plan. So what I did is I set up the lighting. This is back before digital. I set up the lighting and stuff so that he was hugging her, but you couldn't quite see his face. It's kind of a shadow in the background. You could see
uh-huh.
her face and the tummy and everything. And when they saw that, they were both ecstatic.
Oh,
They're
how neat.
filled with both of them wanted. He was just insecure. He didn't want. So I managed to get him in it without embarrassing him, and so I'm proud of those being able to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And it's part of being able to gift that to them too, isn't it?
Yeah, because they got
Yeah,
a nice portrait of that, and so I'm proud of those moments. I think
right,
when I was
right.
able to help
That's really
capture that.
nice. That's really nice. And let me ask you this. What do you consider a fulfilled life?
Well, I guess that's one of the things I'm kind of um, wrestling with as I'm filling out my memoir. And I think for me, a big part of it is seeing my children grow and have meaningful, helpful, lives themselves.
Yeah.
Um, Looking back and seeing that I had a positive impact on at least most people.
Yeah.
I know, unfortunately, I've had negative impact too, but I'd like to think overall. So
Yeah.
for me, a fulfilling life is being able to look back and say, you know what, I have
Mhm.
helped some people, I have seen some people, and I've had people help me
Yeah.
um, through life, and being able to remember those times
Hmm. Hmm.
really helps. And
Yeah.
now, I won't go into too much detail about my life now, but things have changed. But I've got a new friend that politically we're on completely different sides of the spectrum, but he's an incredibly good friend, and he supports me writing my books. He supports. It's really incredible to have somebody that is on a different spectrum. The two of us support each other so much,
Yeah.
um, and that has a lot of meaning. That yeah, this is
It does.
that personal
It does.
connection,
Right. Right.
um, like I
Exactly.
said.
Well,
And
that's
yeah, I think my
beautiful.
portrait photography, I think, really helped with that a lot. So
Sure. Sure.
yeah.
So I'm going to thank you. This has been a delightful exploration of your story and your insights and your perspective. And I really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you so much. This has been a delight.
Well, thanks for having me on. And yeah, and I hope I should have that memoir out in hopefully another week now. I mean, it's right there. I'm doing the final edits.
Exciting. Exciting.
Of course, you know how those final edits go.
Wonderful. Well, you have a blessed day and thank you so much.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.